What if I told you that the most important piece of your pike rig, the one designed to protect you from a bite-off, is actually the reason you're not getting bit at all? It sounds crazy, I know. Today, we're not talking about some magic new lure or a secret spot. We are talking about leaders. Specifically, that thick, heavy steel leader you've probably been using for years, just like your father and his father before him. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will look at clear water pike fishing in a completely different and hopefully much more successful way. We are going to uncover the invisible mistake that thousands of anglers make every single day. So before we get into it, let me ask you this. Do you really think a big, wary pike cares about a piece of wire in front of its meal? Let me know in the comments right now. A simple yes or no. The answer might surprise you. For as long as most of us have been fishing, the rule has been simple and absolute. If you're fishing for pike, you use a steel leader. Period. The logic is sound, right? Pike have a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth that can slice through monofilament or braid in an instant. Losing the fish of a lifetime to a bite-off is a nightmare scenario, so we armor up. We use thick, tough wire leaders because it's the safe option. It's the insurance policy. This belief is so deeply ingrained in fishing culture that questioning it feels like heresy. It's what we were taught, it's what we see in old fishing magazines, and it's the method that has, for the most part, worked for decades. But here's the thing, fish and fishing pressure change. The pike in your local Clearwater lake aren't the same uneducated fish from 50 years ago. They've seen it all, and maybe, just maybe, they've learned to associate that insurance policy with danger. Let's set a scene you probably know all too well. It's a calm morning. The water is so clear you can count the pebbles on the bottom in 10 feet of water. You make a perfect cast along a weed edge with your favorite swim bait. Suddenly a shadow detaches from the weeds. It's a big pike and it's locked onto your lure. Your heart starts pounding. The fish follows, closing the distance, getting closer and closer. And then, just feet from the boat, it flares its gills, turns with a lazy flick of its tail, and vanishes back into the depths. You're left with that gut-wrenching feeling of frustration. You saw the fish. It was interested, but it refused at the last possible moment. You probably think to yourself, it must have been the lure. But was it really? This exact scenario plays out for anglers every single day, and it's the starting point for our entire investigation. Our first instinct in that situation is always to blame the lure. We immediately open our tackle box. Maybe it was the wrong color, we wonder. Was my retrieve too fast? Too slow? We tie on a different lure, maybe a jerkbait or a spinnerbait, and cast again. We spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on an arsenal of lures, each with a different color, size, and action, all in the hopes of finding the one magic bullet for that day. We obsess over the fine details of the bait itself, yet we completely ignore the 6 or 12 inches of thick, dark wire that connects it to our line. We treat the leader as a purely functional piece of hardware, not as a part of the presentation. We're so focused on the painting that we don't even notice the giant, clunky frame it's hanging in. This is the fundamental blind spot for so many pike anglers, and it's where the smartest fish gain their advantage. To understand why the leader matters, we first need to give the pike some credit. These are not mindless eating machines. They are highly evolved apex predators, and their eyesight is one of their greatest weapons, especially in clear water. They are masters of ambush, and their survival depends on their ability to distinguish between an easy meal and a potential threat. A pike's eyes are positioned high on its head, giving it a wide field of binocular vision to accurately judge distance and movement. They can see color, and they are incredibly sensitive to contrast and things that just don't look natural. A small, shiny fish darting erratically is natural. A thick, dark, rigid bar moving in front of that shiny fish is not. For a young, aggressive, hammer-handled pike, this might not matter, but for a large, old, wary fish that has seen countless lures, anything out of the ordinary is a massive red flag signaling danger. Now, let's try to see the world from the pike's perspective. Imagine you're that big fish, sitting motionless, concealed in the weeds. You're waiting for something to eat. You see a perfectly colored perch pattern swim bait swim by. Its tail kicks, its body wobbles. It looks like the real deal. Your predatory instincts kick in and you begin to follow, preparing to strike. As you get closer, your sharp eyes focus in. You see the lure, yes, but you also see this strange, stiff, dark line leading away from its nose. It doesn't move naturally, it doesn't bend or flex like a piece of weed. It reflects the light in a dull, metallic way. It's completely alien to your world. Every instinct honed over years of avoiding nets and other dangers screams that something is wrong. This is not a real fish, it is a trap. And just like that, you turn away. The angler in the boat is left wondering what they did wrong, never realizing that the invisible part of their setup was the most visible thing of all. Now I can already hear the objections. The first and most powerful counter-argument is always, but what about bite-offs? Are you telling me to risk losing a giant pike? And that is a completely valid concern. The fear is real. We've all heard the horror stories or experienced it ourselves. You hook into a monster on a light leader, the line goes slack, and you reel in a frayed, curly end where your lure used to be. It's a sickening feeling. Steel is the ultimate insurance. Its strength and toughness against those teeth are undeniable. It has been the go-to solution for generations for this very reason. Nobody wants to be the person with a story about the one that got away because their leader failed. This deep-seated fear is the primary reason why so many anglers are hesitant to even consider an alternative, sticking with what they know is safe, even if it might be costing them bites. So, if steel can be too visible, what is the alternative? The most popular answer in the modern fishing world is fluorocarbon. For years, bass and walleye anglers have sworn by it for its stealth properties. The science behind it is pretty simple. Fluorocarbon material has a refractive index that is very close to that of water. In layman's terms, this means it bends light in almost the same way as water, which makes it incredibly difficult for fish to see underwater. It doesn't disappear completely, that's a myth, but compared to a thick strand of steel or even monofilament, it becomes a ghost. This property alone makes it a compelling option for any fishing situation where stealth is critical. And there is no situation where stealth is more critical than when targeting a sharp-eyed predator in crystal clear water. It's a tool designed specifically for fooling line-shy fish. The next big objection is usually about strength. Isn't fluorocarbon just plastic? Won't a pike's teeth slice right through it? This is a common misconception, often born from experiences with light-test fluorocarbon used for trout or panfish. But we are not talking about using a 6-pound or 10-pound test leader here. We are talking about heavy-duty, saltwater-grade fluorocarbon leader material, typically in the 80, 100, or even 130-pound test range. This stuff is incredibly thick, tough, and highly abrasion-resistant. While no leader material other than steel is 100% bite-proof, a thick, high-quality fluorocarbon leader offers a massive degree of protection. A pike's teeth are designed for slashing and holding, not for cleanly snipping like scissors. In most cases, they will scrape along the thick leader, not cut through it, giving you a huge advantage in stealth with very little compromise in real-world security. Let's paint another picture, a real-world experiment. Imagine two very skilled anglers fishing from the same boat on a clear, calm day. They are fishing the same weed bed, using the exact same lure, same model, same color. The only difference is in their terminal tackle. Angler A is using a traditional 30-pound test 12-inch black steel leader. Angler B has opted for an 18-inch leader made of 100-pound test fluorocarbon. Over the course of the day, both anglers get follows, but Angler A notices a pattern. His fish tend to follow from a greater distance and turn off sooner. Angler B, however, finds that the pike follow his lure much closer to the boat, often striking with violent aggression just as he's about to lift it from the water. By the end of the day, Angler B has landed 5 fish, while Angler A has only landed 1. The only variable was the leader. This isn't a fantasy. It's a scenario that plays out time and time again for those willing to adapt. Of course, context is everything. This is not a declaration that steel leaders are useless and should be thrown away. It's about choosing the right tool for the job. Let's talk about water clarity. If you're fishing in a river system that's high and muddy after a recent rain, or a stained tannic lake that looks like tea, then visibility is low. In these conditions, a pike isn't primarily hunting with its eyes. It's relying more on its other senses, especially the vibration-detecting lateral line. It feels the thump of your spinnerbait's blade or the wobble of a crankbait long before it sees it. In that low visibility environment, does a thick steel leader make a difference? Honestly, probably not. The fish is reacting to a sound or a vibration, and by the time it gets close enough to see the leader, it has already committed to striking. In murky water, the strength and security of steel often outweigh its visual drawbacks. But the moment you move to a clear body of water, the entire game changes. In water with 10, 15, or even 20 feet of visibility, vision is the pike's #1 hunting tool. It can see your lure from a long way off. It has time to approach, inspect, and decide. This is where every single detail of your presentation gets scrutinized. The fish can see the swivels, the snaps, the split rings, and yes, most definitely, the leader. In these conditions, you have to shift your mindset from one of pure power and security to one of stealth and finesse. The most successful anglers on these types of waters are the ones who pay attention to the small details. They understand that fooling a wary, clear water predator is more like a chess match than a bar fight, and an invisible connection to their lure is a checkmate move. So we have steel for security and fluoro for stealth, but what if there's a third option? Let's bring titanium into the conversation. Single-strand titanium leaders are something of a premium hybrid solution. From a visibility standpoint, they offer a significant advantage over steel. For a given pound test, a titanium leader has a much thinner diameter than its steel counterpart, making it inherently less conspicuous in the water. It also has a duller, less reflective finish, but its real claim to fame is its super elastic, kink-proof nature. You can bend it and it snaps right back to straight, which is a huge advantage when fishing with expensive jerkbaits that can be ruined by a kinked leader. It combines some of the stealth of a thinner leader with the bite-proof security of metal. The major drawback? The cost. Titanium leaders are significantly more expensive than steel or even fluorocarbon. Let's put all three side by side for a quick comparison. First, you have your classic steel leader. Its pros: it's extremely strong, bite-proof, and very inexpensive. Its cons: it's thick, highly visible, and it kinks easily, which can ruin a lure's action and weaken the leader itself. Next is fluorocarbon. Its pros: it is virtually invisible underwater, giving you a huge stealth advantage. Its cons: it is stiffer than steel, requires careful knot tying or crimping. And it's not 100% bite-proof, though heavy tests are very reliable. Finally, there's titanium, its pros. It's stronger and thinner than steel, bite-proof, and completely kink-proof. Its main con is its high price point. There is no single best leader. The best one is the one that gives you the most advantage in the specific conditions you are facing on a given day. A crucial factor we haven't discussed yet is fishing pressure. Think about the most popular, easily accessible lakes in your area. These fish are not naive. From the moment they hatch, they are dodging lures. They see hundreds, if not thousands, of presentations over their lifetime. They learn. This is a scientifically proven concept called conditioning. If a fish has been caught before or has had a close call with an angler, it starts to associate certain things with danger. It might learn that a boat shadow means danger. It might learn that a certain lure color means danger. And it absolutely can learn that a thick, black wire connected to a potential meal means danger. On highly pressured waters, the fish that survive to become giants are the ones that are the most cautious. They are the PhDs of lure rejection, and fooling them requires a more refined approach than the standard tactics. Here's a simple analogy to drive the point home. Imagine you are a hunter trying to stalk a wary old buck in the woods. You are dressed in perfect camouflage from head to toe. You move slowly, you stay downwind, you do everything right. Except for one thing, you are wearing a pair of bright, squeaky, brand new rubber boots. Do you think that buck is going to stick around? Of course not. It's going to notice the one thing that is out of place and bolt. Your heavy steel leader in clear water is those squeaky rubber boots. You can have the most realistic, perfectly presented lure in the world, but if it's preceded by something that screams unnatural, the smartest game in the woods or in the lake is going to be long gone before you ever get a shot. It's the weakest link in your stealthy presentation. Beyond just visibility, there's another subtle, physical reason to reconsider your leader. Lure action. Every lure is designed by its manufacturer to have a specific action, a wobble, a dart, a glide. A heavy and overly stiff steel leader can act like a splint on a broken arm, deadening or hindering that carefully engineered action. This is especially true for smaller, lighter lures or for neutrally buoyant jerkbaits that are designed to hang and suspend perfectly in the water column. That stiff wire creates an unnatural pivot point and can add just enough weight to make a suspending lure sink slowly. It can dampen the side-to-side, walk-the-dog action of a glide bait. It might seem like a small thing, but when a big pike is following just inches behind your lure, that subtle, perfect action is often the final trigger that convinces it to strike. Now let's look at the alternatives in this context. While a heavy fluorocarbon leader is also quite stiff, its properties are different. It doesn't have the same memory as steel and can, in some cases, offer a slightly more fluid connection to the lure. When using lures that depend on long pauses like a suspending jerkbait, the near invisibility of the fluorocarbon during that pause is a massive advantage. The lure just hangs there in space, seemingly unconnected to anything. Titanium, being more flexible and supple than steel, also shines here. It allows the lure to move with a greater degree of freedom, more closely mimicking the way you are working the rod. Again, we are talking about small, incremental advantages, but in the world of trophy fishing, it's often the sum of these 1% improvements that leads to success. So, with all this information, what is the practical advice? When should you actually make the switch? The number one signal is right there in the fish's behavior. If you are fishing in clear water and you are consistently getting fish to follow your lure but not commit, that is your sign. If you see them track it from a distance and then veer off, or follow it right to the boat and then sink out of sight, It's time to experiment. Before you change your lure for the 10th time, change your leader first. Switch from that heavy steel trace to a high-quality 80 or 100-pound fluorocarbon leader. It's a simple adjustment that takes only a couple of minutes, but it could completely change the outcome of your day. See if those follows start turning into strikes. The fish will give you the answer. Let's quickly talk about how to rig it. If you decide to try a heavy fluorocarbon leader, you have two main options, crimping or tying. For leader material over 80-pound test, crimping is often the most reliable method. You'll need a good pair of crimping pliers and the correct size of sleeves for your leader material. A bad crimp can fail, so it's worth practicing a few times to make sure you get a solid, clean connection. Alternatively, you can tie a knot, but you'll need a specific one that works well with thick, stiff material like a perfection loop or a 5-turn uni knot. Whatever method you choose, the key is to have confidence in it. Your terminal connection is the most critical link in the entire system. Don't let a poorly tied knot or a bad crimp be the reason you lose a fish. Quality components and careful rigging are not optional. I want to be very clear about something. The goal of this video is not to tell you to go home and throw away every steel leader you own. That would be foolish. They absolutely still have a time and a place in your tackle box. Are you trolling large crankbaits in deep, off-colored water for muskie or pike? A steel leader is a great choice. Are you casting giant 1-pound bulldog-style lures in the fall? Steel is probably your safest bet. The point is not that steel is bad and fluoro is good. The point is that you, as an angler, need to think critically about your equipment and the conditions you face. You need to have more than one tool in your toolbox. Relying on a single method for every single situation is a recipe for limitation. The best anglers are the ones who can adapt their presentation to match the mood of the fish and the clarity of the water. Ultimately, this all comes down to a fundamental mindset shift. For years, we've been conditioned to think of a leader as just a piece of safety equipment, a bite-proof utility wire. We need to start thinking of it as an integral part of the lure's presentation. It is the final, crucial link between you and the fish. It is the very first thing, besides the lure itself, that the fish is going to see as it approaches. And in clear water, what it sees matters a lot. By ignoring your leader, you are ignoring a massive piece of the puzzle. Once you start viewing that leader with the same critical eye that you view your lure selection, you unlock a whole new level of refinement in your fishing, and you open the door to fooling fish that other anglers simply can't. So, there you have it. We've gone deep on one of the most overlooked details in pike fishing. The old, reliable steel leader, while undeniably strong, can be a major liability, a visual red flag, for wary pike in clear water. It's a thick, unnatural line that the most educated fish in a system have learned to associate with danger. For me, the biggest aha moment in all of this is the realization that the fish might not be rejecting your expensive, perfectly tuned lure at all. It might be rejecting the leash you have it on. That simple thought changes everything. This small change in perspective and on your line from steel to fluorocarbon in the right conditions can truly be the difference between a day of frustrating follows and a day of chaos, bent rods and screaming drags. It's a shift from a brute force mentality to one of finesse and stealth. It's about outsmarting the fish, not just overpowering it. Thank you so much for watching and for letting me challenge some old school thinking. If this gave you a new idea for your next trip, do me a favor and hit that like button and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next video. Now I want to hear from you. What's the biggest pike you've ever lost to a bite-off, and what kind of leader were you using? I want to hear the war stories in the comments below. Let's talk about it.